Hello everyone. So today we are going to study about the gametogenesis in humans. I will be going to explain to you about the necessity of gametogenesis in humans. Stay tuned. We as humans do produce reproductive cells that is called as gametes. This process is called as gametogenesis. This gametogenesis process takes place in gonads, which are the testes in males and the ovaries in females. The gametogenesis process produces gametes that are haploid. When fertilization takes place, the nucleus of the ovum will form a diploid cycle.
This is the diagram of longitudinal section of the testes. Spermatogenesis is a process of sperm reproduction that takes place in seminiferous tubules. In each of the seminiferous tubules consists of primordial germ cells. As you all can see in the diagram, there are 9 seminiferous tubules. In each seminiferous tubules consists of primordial germ cells, so there are 9 primordial germ cells. Sperm is transported from the seminiferous tubules to the epidermis and flows out through the sperm duct. Spermatogenesis is stimulated by the follicle-stimulating hormone (FSH) and testosterone. This process is also aided by the luteinizing hormone LH, which stimulates testosterone secretion in the testes. Okay, the first one is multiplication phase. Primordial germ cells divide mitotically to form diploid spermatogonium. Then, spermatogonium expand to form primary spermatocytes, which is diploid. The second one is growth phase. Each primary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis I to form 2 secondary spermatocytes, which is haploid. After that, maturation phase. Each secondary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis II to produce 2 haploid spermatids. Then, spermatids undergo differentiation to form sperms.
Now let's move on to oogenesis. Oogenesis is the production of female gamete. This process takes place in the ovaries and began in the female ovaries before they were born. Now let's take a look at the oogenesis flowchart. Based on a flowchart, primordial germ cells undergo mitotic division to form ooginium, which is diploid. Ooginium develops into primary oocyte that is enclosed with one or more layers of follicular cells to produce primary follicles. The growth of the follicle is stimulated by the follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH. Then it stops after undergoes meiosis, which is at prophase I during fetal development. At birth, a baby girl already has millions of primary oocytes that remain dormant in prophase I, meiosis I. The number of oocytes will decrease at puberty. When reached puberty, the primary oocytes will continue meiosis I to produce secondary oocyte and a first polar body. Secondary oocyte will begin meiosis II, which then halted at metaphase II. First polar body will complete meiosis II and produce 2 secondary polar bodies. A layer of follicular cells envelops the secondary oocyte and is called as secondary follicle. The secondary follicle will then develop into Graafian follicle that release oestrogen, which is a hormone that maintains females' characteristic. A mature Graafian follicle will approach the surface of the ovary and release a secondary oocyte into a fallopian tube, which is ovulation process. The secondary oocyte, which is immature ovum, will complete meiosis II once a sperm penetrates it. Meiosis II produces ovum and first polar body. Fertilization occurs when sperm nucleus fuses with ovum nucleus and produces diploid zygote. The rest polar bodies will die and disintegrated by the ovary. After ovulation, the remaining follicle forms corpus luteum. Corpus luteum continues to grow and secretes oestrogen and progesterone. And lastly, corpus luteum and secondary oocyte degenerate and dies, then removed through menstruation. That is all for oogenesis.
Hi guys, so for now we are going to study about the structure of sperm and Graafian follicle. Sperm. A sperm has three main parts. First, head. Head contains nucleus. Second part is midpiece. Midpiece is packed with mitochondria that generates energy for sperm to swim. And the third one is tail. Tail helps the sperm to swim to the fallopian tube. Next, Graafian follicle. A secondary oocyte is a large cell that is surrounded by a gel-like substance and follicular cells. The secondary oocyte and follicular cells will form Graafian follicle.
Comparison between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Similarities. Both are the processes of gametogenesis that take place in the reproductive organs. They produce gametes that are haploid, which are involved in fertilization. Haploid is the quality of cell or organism having a single set of chromosomes. Differences. Spermatogenesis. It takes place in the testes. Spermatogonium, diploid, produces 4 sperms, haploid, after meiosis. Sperms are smaller and made up of the midpiece, head, and tail. After meiosis I, 2 secondary spermatocytes are produced. Meiosis is completed. Spermatids undergo differentiation to become sperms. The production of sperm is continuous from puberty until old age. Millions of sperms are formed every day. Next, oogenesis. It takes place in the ovaries. Oogonium, diploid, only produces 1 functional secondary oocyte, haploid, and 3 non-functioning polar bodies after meiosis. Secondary oocytes are larger and spherical in shape. After meiosis I, 1 secondary oocyte and 1 polar body is produced. Meiosis II is only completed when a sperm fertilizes the secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte does not undergo differentiation. The production of the secondary oocyte is not continuous. It starts in the female fetus and remains dormant when the baby is born. The process continues once the female reaches puberty and stops during menopause. Only 1 secondary oocyte is released from the ovaries at every menstrual cycle.